Labadiena, 15 min žiūrovai ir skaitytojai. Toliau tęsime pokalbį su ukrainiečiais ir vieni jų yra čia Lietuvoje, su jais pavyksta pasikalbėti gyvai, kurie iš jų yra Ukrainoje ir neketina iš ten važiuoti. Šiandien kalbėsime su pašnekove iš Charkivo ir įdomu, kad ji prieš pat interviu pasakė, jog nenustebkite, jeigu interviu metu pradės kaukti sirenos. Įspėjamosios sirenos, tai reikš, kad reikia slėptis. Tad jeigu taip nutiks, dėja interviu teks nutraukti, nes garsas tiesiog bus per didelis. Bet tikėkime, kad tai nenutiks ir bandysime kalbėti su Karazino Charkivo nacionalinio universiteto sociologijos fakulteto dekane Olena Muradyan. Hello, Olena.
Hello.
So before the interview, you told about the alarms. How often do they go off?
It depends. One day we can have 3-4 alarms per day. Sometimes we have every half an hour. And of course, we are in the border region because now I'm in Kharkiv, in quite big city that is close and border to Russia. But in some other cities, it can be situation sometimes better, sometimes worse. So it depends. And last days we have really a lot of these alarms. So that's why I'm telling, don't be afraid if it will be very noisy on my side.
Why do you have more alarms these days?
Because we have rocket attacks, bomb shellings, and this is a situation that's especially in Kharkiv we live since February 24. Unfortunately, we didn't have even one day without some kind of shellings or damaging. And sometimes it is in city center, sometimes in different part of the city, because Kharkiv is a very big city, and because war is going on. Not even for one day it stopped for all Ukraine.
You talk like you are used to it. Are you?
Yeah. Yes, I can say we used to it. We used to live during the war, and as we know, more than 4 months, soon there will be 5 months of this war. And if first days, first weeks, it was, let's say, feelings of total shock, and we didn't understand what's going on, how to live in these circumstances. Now I can say that we have new lifestyles, new living practices. We have the understanding that life during the war is a life. So that's why we have our routine, how to be safe, how to be clear to understand when danger is very near, because nowadays I can say there is no really safe place in Ukraine, but we can at least manage this situation with some kind of apps, different kind of application. So before the air alarm will start, and I can see this notification during my application, but sometimes it also doesn't work. So yeah, we used to leave it in a very special way.
As I mentioned before, you are a sociologist in Kharkiv National University. How do your days look now? Are there any similar to the days before the war?
Of course it's not. Of course it's absolutely different reality, and I can tell as sociologist, I can tell as Kharkiv for Ukrainian citizens. Nowadays we have interview. I'm in my office in Karazino University. My buildings located in exactly in the city center, but it wasn't so all months. Just now we continue our let's say educational scientific process, and all is quite fine. But first weeks and first months we couldn't do it, and more than 1 month we couldn't continue our educational process because that time our air was very, let's say, open, and there was a lot of airplanes attack, so that's why we had damaged some university buildings were damaged, etc. So before we lived mostly in bomb shelters, we lived in many Kharkiv citizens live in metro stations because it was absolutely a total danger. Now we more or less back to our some part of previous life. We can continue our educational process, of course, in asynchronic online regime, and so just few people of staff working with me on the faculty. Mostly people work from distance, so online. And we finished our semester. We closed all tests and exams, but we continue our scientific work because I work in classical university. We have more than 20 schools of mathematics, physics, medicine, all kind of science. So we try to back to our previous life, but as we like to say, it's never will be the same again. We live in new reality, and this reality all connected to the situation of danger. So we try to stop everything immediately as soon as we can hear air alarm. It also depends, is it artillery danger or rocket danger? That's different things. And now we mostly work in the situation to be between big walls, etc.
How many students are still attending the university? I mean, not in summer, of course, but in the semester. How many students were there?
Actually, we are quite big university in Ukraine. There was more than 20,000 students, but of course, the first months and we had more than 4,000 international students. And our main priority was to relocate all of them, to evacuate all of them. So our first weeks was connected and was busy with this duty. Nowadays, of course, all of them are studying online. Just new semester from September will show us this result. Nowadays, we did our best to save our, let's say, contingent, so almost all our students. But of course, a significant part of them are, not significant, but a lot of them are abroad. If we talk about my faculty, we have more than 900 students, full-time and part-time, and we have 650 full-time students, and nowadays around 150 are abroad. That's what we have because we do some kind of monitoring. Let's say, yeah, it's a lot. Another part are in different part of Ukraine. Some are in Kharkiv, sometimes already back from abroad or back from western part of university. So now it's very complicated to talk about figures, but as we see, around 90% of students still are students of Karazino University. That's really good because we were able to provide online education already in the end of the March.
Have you yourself ever thought to leave Kharkiv or Ukraine during this time?
Actually, for almost 2 months, I lived in Kharkiv region. It's Poltava, more than 100 kilometers from Kharkiv. It's happened in first weeks of March because my house, my living apartment was bombed. Not exactly mine, but buildings. And it was quite a scary night. Let's say it was the most scary night in my life, and it was impossible to stay in that building because we didn't have electricity, we didn't have gas, water it was unable to stay there. So I moved to Poltava by my car. And I stayed a few months there because that time we created so-called logistics center. So our administrative part moved there, and we started our educational process from there. Actually, we moved there servers, etc., etc. And later I realized that it's time to come back, and I back to Kharkiv, and now I live there. Did I have the idea to go abroad? No, I didn't have. Even I'm very grateful to my colleagues, to my friends abroad, to our educational partners who really provided great support with evacuation and relocation of my staff, because some of my staff now now are refugees and relocated to other countries. But for me, as for Dean, I think it's my duty and it's my feeling to stay here.
And do you do now any researches or not? I want to talk more about sociological work. Is it still possible? Is it still going on?
As sociologists, we really don't need much from technical part, and we continue our research, all our research topic. For example, I'm head of two big projects. One of them connected to situation with COVID, with vaccination, with social barriers connected to this. It's already second part of this work, and we try to see what kind of changes happening in this sphere because of the war. Because, as you know, a few millions people moved from Ukraine to European countries, and no one checked their COVID passports, their medical things, and probably there will be some challenges for European society. And because some part of these people now back from Europe to Ukraine also, and as we know, there is no new type of COVID. So maybe this situation, this COVID and the vaccination process, it's something that we need to look at. So we continue this research also. I'm head of the Ukrainian team of one big European project, Vasilio project, that's financed by European Commission with more than 30 partners. And I can say even in June, I had two trips. One was to Oslo. It was a regular meeting connected to this European project. It was report time after 1.5 years of our job. This project connected to food inequality, and especially now in the situation when in the first weeks we didn't have any kind of logistic with food, water supplies, and when we were deal with something that must work not to get humanitarian crisis, when we got a lot of humanitarian aid, a lot of humanitarian support, with the situation under the total danger and artillery and air shellings, we had new, let's say, new waves of getting food for students, for people who live in a dangerous part of the Kharkiv, and food inequality, food insecurity. This problem appears in a new, let's say, profile. So now we rewriting our aims, and now we try to see what will be with the this food inequality and food policy, urban food policy in our city. We work with our Kharkiv City Council and our civil and army administration. So yeah, absolutely, we continue. Also, we have few projects connected to conflict resolution, to public relation, to social internship. And because my faculty is quite big, we have 6 departments, and after some time, more than, let's say, 1 or 2 months, we realized that we can't be stopped. We need to continue our project, especially as sociologists, because we need to see what kind of social order will be in 2 months when war will finish. We believe that it will happen and we will win. So yeah, we continue quite successfully.
Have you already got any news or results regarding food logistics and security?
Let's say that's something that we are creating every day in Kharkiv, because when you don't know where is the safe part, our volunteers, we have a lot of volunteers that's working and providing all this connected to basic needs, so all these waves of getting food, getting something to fulfill basic needs. All this some kind of innovation. How to find taxi drivers who are ready to drive to danger parts. How to deal with volunteers that need to go to villages and to bring their food. How to get knowledge what kind needs people have if this village was occupied, for example, or that part was occupied. So now we are in the process of this resolution. We have 2.5 years of this project ahead, and I'm sure maybe later I can share you the main results with you.
It would be great. And you talk about the new reality during the war, and here we talk more and more about desensitized society, which is not afraid of horrible pictures of deaths and etc. How do you yourself react to deaths and those bombings, alarms?
I can say personally, I will never used to it. I can't say how I deal. It's for now. I have feeling of high level of responsibility for my social environment, for my staff, for my faculty. It's generally more than 1,000 people, and of course, I can't show my demoralization. But I can say that. It's absolutely terrible. It's absolutely shocking when you see your memorable places, when you see, when you know that some of people with who you worked at university or some of your students are not living in this world anymore. That's absolutely terrible. And that's something that's touched every family in this country, I'm sure, every family, because as you know, not just Kharkiv is a dangerous place. Mariupol, Bucha, Irpin, Odessa, Nikolaev, Dnipro, Vinnytsia, that's something that's all the world heard a few days ago. It's something really that's nowadays we can see in social network. Yeah, even if you don't know these people, but as soon as you open social network, Telegram, Instagram, you are a part of this war. So in a modern world, this new level of media, of this social network communication, it's impossible not to be emotionally stable with this. So all is quite complicated, and I'm sure we will need a lot of psychological support and psychological work with all of us when war is finished, because now we have these inner resources to be stable, but I'm not sure that we will be able to deal with it in a half year, etc. So we are quite okay now. It's absolutely terrible. It's absolutely damaging our emotions, and I'm sure not even one, let's say, normal psychologically stable person can accept it as a normality.
You've said probably every family in Ukraine has been touched by the war. As much as you are able to talk about that, has your family been touched?
What I mean when I say that every family, that's mean not exactly relatives, but maybe someone that was friend of your family or friends of friends, or someone that you know. depends on someone that